that. Like, there's been a reported sighting of a raptor, like a velociraptor here in Georgia.
What? Dude,
A velociraptor.
I think a lot of this stuff is just portals opening up. I mean,
or time
which
is
takes
slipping.
me to,
and that
there's
raptor just shot out of
through.
65 million years ago into the current time.
We broke a hole into the space-time continuum.
Back to CERN making up black holes.
I mean, think about all these cryptids, all these creatures, all these weird things that people are seeing. And you guys have investigated portals.
Yeah, can we get into
Well, we didn't mean to.
You didn't mean to. That's amazing.
We didn't mean to.
Just stumbled across an old portal.
Let's hear about the portal, because that's got my interest.
Our friend Joel Thomas from Kill the Mockingbirds podcast had a great conversation with him. He said, a portal opens up, I'm running right into it. So
no, don't do that. Definitely don't do that. We actually had to come up with protocol.
Yeah,
we had to come up with protocol for the next time we encounter a portal, and I got to say it's very dangerous. You know, we measure for radiation, okay, when we're out in the field, and a lot of times whenever there's like any type of paranormal activity, there'll be a small spike in the Geiger meter, okay, and so that's like a little dose of radiation, okay, and it may not be very much,
right, but they're super sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, we had what we consider to be a portal open up in the meadow one evening. And the two gentlemen that went in there both ended up ultimately getting very sick. And one of them has passed away, actually. Now, we're not saying that was the cause of his death, but he was a healthy 56-year-old man. And after that happened, he got a heart condition and had a heart failure, a heart attack. The other gentleman that went in, he got an aggressive form of cancer.
Wow.
And is still recuperating from that. Like, he's still not out, you know, he's better today, but
can I ask, was this at, if you don't want to give away the location, but how did you come upon this portal, or what was going on that it materialized, or can you kind of give me that background of where? Yeah.
It's in the south. It's a place we call the Meadow.
The Meadow again.
Somewhere, it's the Meadow. Yeah, the place that we've been researching for a while.
Okay.
And the team that Trey's on. So that book, the Meadow Project, is about this.
Gotcha.
And so we've been researching this place for quite a while. Okay, so full disclosure, I had left that afternoon, so I wasn't there when the portal opened up.
Okay.
I had been there the other part of the weekend, but I had a small kid at home, and so I had to go home and take care of my son. He was only 3. Okay, and so. But when I got home, I had brought some orbs home with me, apparently. And we actually had those on film, on video, floating around my son that night. While he was on the elliptical machine, just having fun. And his dad, who I was married to at the time, he was filming him with his camera phone. And he called me in the living room. It was in the living room. Okay, the elliptical machine. Sorry, but it is what it is. And it was in the front living room. And so my son, the only reason I haven't been able to show this publicly is because my son had on his underwear or whatever. So I can't just show that. I can't show that video. I tried to show it at KGRA, and my producer was like, no, you're not showing that.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, I got called into the living room, and there were 2 orbs, like balls of light, floating around my son. And I had just gotten in from the Meadow that afternoon. Okay, that evening, actually. I'd never had orbs like that in my house. And they were dancing around, and my son was watching them. He was like, Mom, ball, ball. And he was following them with his finger. His dad couldn't see them at all with his eyes. He could only see them through his phone, the screen on his phone. And so I'm seeing them with my own eyes. My son's seeing them with his own eyes. You can clearly hear us having our conversation about it on the video. And then one of the balls shoots towards the phone, and the camera shuts off.
Whoa!
Okay.
What?
Yeah, shut the camera off.
Wow.
It did.
Wow.
It did. And so that was that. I had no idea my team was having this prolific experience out in the Meadow that night.
Right.
So the team had gone into the Meadow that night. This is something that we do regularly. We do a whole bunch of different types of research out there, but usually at night we'll go out to the Meadow. We'll disperse into small teams, and we have constant radio communication. We all carry CB radios, our Beophones, and we have somebody back at base camp that holds the base camp down, and we're in constant communication with everybody. We've had a lot of weird stuff happen out there. So, it was not shocking that we had some kind of portal open up. We'd had a lot of other weird stuff happen out there. So one of the teams was set up on one corner of the field, and then we had, I think there was like 3 or 4 different teams out there, and there was a 3-man team in the very beginning of the meadow when you first walk in, and they were looking through thermals and FLIRs and whatever. And one of the guys, Dave, he noticed that there was this like box forming in the middle of the field. And he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. So he had Terry look at it with Rock Hill Bigfoot, by the way, had Terry look and see, what is this cube? It's like a cube, like showing up, and it just looked like you could just see an outline of a temperature change through the thermal imaging camera. And it was pretty big. And he was like, yeah, that's weird. Okay. And it looked as though it had a door and windows on it or something, and like crosses inside of it. It was just, didn't make sense. Okay. And so they dispatched over across the field, and they sent a couple of guys over to it. There was like 3 guys went. 2 of the men, the ones who I told you about, they got kind of sick. They got really sick, actually. They approached this cube, and it was like the size of like a shed or like a garage or something, basically.
Holy cow.
This is what she was talking about in the comments on our last Strange Happenings episode.
Yeah, I'm in.
Great.
I'm in. I'm totally in. This is wild.
Yeah. So the last thing on anybody's mind is a portal. You think of portal, you think of like Doctor Strange and like the things swirling around like a round circle, and that's a portal. Well, this was square, cubed kind of, and as the 2 gentlemen walked up to it, you could see very clearly their heat signatures. They're white, like balls of light, basically, like white heat signatures. They're walking up to this thing, and it's already starting to like dissipate a little bit. Like the temperature is kind of changing. It looks like it's kind of disappearing just a tiny bit. As they walked over to it, they could not see it with their bare eyes, like their naked eyes. They could only be guided to where this thing was. And as they walked over to it, their heat signatures disappeared. And they described it, and this is an open field. Okay, there's no trees right there. There's nothing there. There's no reason on earth for their heat signatures to have disappeared. Well, Kristen, one of the girls in the first 3-man team, she thought to grab her camera, and she started recording as they walked up to it. So we actually have this documented.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they walked over to this cube, and their heat signature disappeared. They both described it as walking into a black velvet curtain. The temperature changed, the ground vegetation changed. It went from like brushy and muddy and sticks and grass to smooth.
Whoa.
Smooth ground. The stars disappeared, they said. It was a little bit cooler. And okay, my entire team, we've all been trained in remote viewing. We know about like energy shifts and changes, and we know what to look for. Plus, those guys are former military.
Right.
Like, yeah. They knew something was wrong or different. You know what I mean? And and I believe they were sporadically losing radio contact and all that kind of stuff. So they came out, and their heat signatures, and they didn't know they were coming out because they were just standing there. They didn't know. But their heat signatures reappeared, and as it did, the box shrunk down, and then it moved and it disappeared.
Whoa.
Well, you think about with like if you are able to teleport or open up these dimensions, like a safe way to do it, right? Like the whole concept of like if you can teleport, you have to know where you're going, because you don't want to teleport yourself like halfway through the floor, right? Like the Philadelphia.
Like Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Philadelphia experiment.
It makes sense. And even in like, I think in the Terminator, they did the same thing before, he appears, it's this like vortex and plasma ball opens up to create this 3-dimensional space for whatever you're transporting, wherever you're landing. I guess maybe if that doorway opens up in the middle of a mountain, they're like, oh, nope, don't park it there. Let's readjust our coordinates, and then we can see if we open it up there, can we land there? And maybe that's why there's also these hot spots where it reoccurs, right? It's a known location. We figured out, whoever we are, we figured out how to open this portal at this spot. As far as
that's what I think.
Yeah.
I think that's how a lot of these cryptids travel. We have a lot of natural portals here on Earth.
Yeah.
I think there are unnatural portals and there are natural portals.